Testing, testing. Can you hear me? Testing. All right, welcome, guys. Thank you, Moto King, for confirming. All right, well, it looks like we got people joining. Thank you all for joining. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to join the live stream. We have a lot to cover. I hope you guys are having a nice Sunday. Put it in the live chat where you guys are all watching from. What's your name? Where you're watching from? What ideas you got? Questions? If you have a question, please make sure to put it in the chats with the, like a question, and then ask your question. We'll give it a few minutes before we begin. We'll let some folks kind of just, join in on the live stream, and then we'll go ahead and rock and roll. All right, we got some questions rolling in. So I see Raz, you asking a question. Put a question mark at the beginning, and then ask the question. We got Moto King from Chicago. We got Ficus from the UK. That's awesome. My guess is it's late night over there in the UK. All right. Well, welcome everyone. And if you haven't already done so, please make sure to hit the like on this live stream, share it with a buddy, as well as subscribing to the channel. We got a lot to cover. There's a lot of money to be made right now in the markets. Hopefully we all win together. I mean, the goal of this channel is to gain on positive proceeds, lead with an altruistic mindset. So looks like we got some questions. Put it in the comments first off, where are you guys all watching from? I'd like to, connect, a name to, what you're asking and all that. So where you're watching from, your name. Looks like we got Ron joining. Definitely Open Army. If you're part of the Open Army, put a 1 in the chat. I just typed a 1 because I'm bullish on Open. I hope you all are as well. We'll cover OpenDoor as well. We got Daniel joining. We got John Daly joining. Oh yes, I like seeing what you're putting there. EDU, I'm not too sure what EDU is. So John, you're gonna have to shed some light on what EDU is. We got Raz asking, questions about Riot platforms. We're definitely going to be covering all of that, as well as BMNR. Very bullish with Tom Lee. We're going to be covering that as well. Moto King. Yeah, I've been talking about Riot platforms for many, many months on this channel, right? I mean, years. Now is the time to capitalize. Let your winners ride. Why? Because we're positioned for big time run-up gains. While everyone was talking about, crypto, having a pullback in that it's the end of the cycle. Now is the time to capitalize. Not legal advice. Cypher's been, doing really well. $1.8 to, $15. I mean, that is just bullish. All right, welcome everyone. Thank you, Raz, for putting a Q at the beginning. It helps me kind of stroll through all the live, chats and just seeing what questions we all have. John Daly, you're right, spot on. I'm liking the Ethereum as well. I'm liking that. Losing faith in BMNR. I don't understand why you're losing faith in BMNR, but right now, time not to lose faith, because I think it's more of impatience. But let's be patient, because things are about to rock and roll. All right, guys. Well, welcome. I'm so grateful you all are joining. We got folks from all over the place, from Chicago, from the UK. I'm based out here in California, Agra Hills, where Not Legal Vice is. Put it in the comments where you all are watching from, what you're bullish on. But let's go ahead and get started. So, all right, just looking at coin market cap, we got Bitcoin at 123,000. This is looking very bullish. I mean, yesterday we had Bitcoin breaking above all-time high of 125,000. So, definitely a good signal just to see that the price is hovering, maintaining the price range before Friday closure. On Friday, we had a slight pullback. And then on Saturday, yesterday, we had Bitcoin Solana, Ethereum making a nice run up, but I think things are holding up quite well here. I think Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana are just going to maintain these levels and then just start gapping up. So very, very bullish. I think this is looking very, solid. Ron Swaff, I appreciate it, man. I'm guessing that you follow me on X and you're seeing all of the, the deadlift sessions. But let me just share with you all. Like, this is my pinned video here. So in case you all have not seen it, this is my deadlift session. And let me just zoom in.
Come on, let's go! Woo!
So that was what Ron was talking about there. That was at 520. I tried 530 recently, got it up the ground. It didn't move as much, but that's going to be my next level. So I got up to 525. That was 520. So, I've broken that level, but every 5 pounds, it takes a lot of effort. So, while we're talking about finance, stocks, crypto, I highly encourage you all, no matter where you are with your fitness journey, just start on a small scale. Resistance training is very important. I also do cardio as well. I try to, run 3 times a week. I lift 6 times a week, early mornings. It's just part of my routine. It's what fuels me. And even before lifting, I used to just do cardio a lot more, where one year I ran like over 1,000 miles. But now, I find a niche more in, resistance powerlifting. That's what gives me that energy, but I still maintain that cardio because it really just helps open up my mind and things are great. So that's what helps me look at things in finance. And I really hope that you all, kind of implement a strategy when it comes to just health, fitness, and using that as a fuel to really bring out the opportunities, whether it's for your career, your goal in this world. So let's go ahead and let's begin. So Bitcoin looking very good. We talked about this, ETH as well, Solana. I call these the big 3 crypto plays. We'll talk about all the different stocks that are based on Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. So let's continue. So Tracer did post that the Fed will cut rates 2 times. So we obviously saw a rate cut in September. That was very bullish. I mean, it was a 0.25%. Better than nothing, right? And we're anticipating to see another rate cut, in October, which is coming up in a few weeks. So anytime when we got Fed rate cuts, it's going to pump the crypto markets, stocks as well, small caps. We're beginning to see a lot of small cap stocks, have breakouts. It's been 5 years since COVID. All those small cap stocks just went down the drain, but now it's reviving. We'll go through some of those stocks as well. So Bitcoin may pump to 200K. Ethereum, Tom Lee is saying, 12 to 15,000. Altcoin season is here as well. So things can look very bullish with the blink of an eye. So definitely opportunity right now in Q4. So Heisenberg post October 28, 29 is the next FOMC meeting. Polymarket has overwhelming odds of a 25% rate cut. CME, FedWatch, both has been spot on all year, no surprises. Stocks have mixed reactions day of the last 4 rate cuts, but all 4 stocks eventually clawed back any losses and then some quickly in the following days. So let's look at this. I mean, 25% rate cut. Look at this. I mean, close to 90%. So we're bullish. We're going to see more rate cuts, and this is the start of greatness. I mean, we got a pro-crypto president who actually signed an executive order as well to allow you to invest your 401k money into cryptocurrency, right? When is that going to be implemented? Who knows? But you got that shift towards, looking at crypto as the future. So this is going to be very bullish. We're still early to the party, and this is why we capitalize. So, all right. So, Guru posts is breaking. So, we got the psychology of the market cycle, right? I mean, things come in ebbs and flows. I mean, you got the accumulation back in like 2022 when, when we were in the Great Depression, the winter cycle with crypto, and then we've been seeing October, looking very bullish just recently with crypto pumping up. So is it going to be that we're going to have a bullish cycle up through January, right? And can Bitcoin break above 200K? Can it go above 500,000? Anything is possible. We've seen Bitcoin make thousands% gain. Yes, now it's a little harder because the price is much higher, but you never know. Things can just go up with the blink of an eye. Anything is possible. So now is a time to really take advantage of the potential run up. All right, Ted posts Bitcoin and Ethereum have been in a strong uptrend since the April bottom. Solana has also performed well, but has lagged overall. It's still down 20% from its all-time high, despite Bitcoin hitting a new all-time high. I think Solana will outperform both Bitcoin and Ethereum later in this cycle once they top out. So Bitcoin, 100, where we are, 123,000, ETH, 4,500. Solana 231. I mean, recently last week I was talking about Solana as well, buying the dips when it dropped to like 196. Definitely a buying opportunity, especially after seeing a nice reversal. All right, so we got Katie joining in. Thank you for joining as well. I haven't been monitoring the questions, but please feel free, put all your comments, ideas, questions in the chat. We'll go through all that, but right now I'm just going to share some solid content with you all. So Michael Saylor posts today. He's hinting that there's not going to be an orange dot purchase announced tomorrow. So he's saying no new orange dots this week, just a 9 billion reminder of why we hodl. So hold on dear life. Currently right now, I mean, their portfolio close to $80 billion. Buying since COVID timeframe. I mean, it doesn't matter the price of Bitcoin, whether it's 8,000, 10,000, 20,000, you name it. MSTR will continue to stack Satoshis and eventually get to 1 Nakamoto. So Ronnie V posts MSTR fresh algo launch. So, some robot launch alert this week. Breakout of downtrend. Bitcoin wants to run again. Target 501. So you got that algo alert of saying launch. I've been talking about, MSTR, even without algos in place. I saw this on the chart. Yes, we can't time, the following night, but after having it bleed out for several months, I saw the value in strategy when it got around 320. Of course, you can't time it. It went below that 290, but it bounced back up quickly. So that gave the market sentiment, whales, loading up on MSTR. And that's why I think there's, 2x leverage MSTR plays that could really, really add value. So definitely be on the lookout with strategy. We'll cover technical analysis as well. So with all of that, I want to play a quick video clip from Tom Lee at, the recent conference in Singapore, Token 249. So, Tom Lee talking about BitMine, Kathy Woods, we know she's been loading up millions of shares back in like July timeframe on BMNR. And, they are a liquidity leader next to MicroStrategy, backing WorldCoin on Ethereum as proof of human becomes a core driver of ETH demand in the AI era.
Well, I think that BitMine, number one, was really thoughtful in terms of communicating.
Let me know if you cannot hear the audio.
Cycle. We communicate that through our website with our presentations and our chairman's message videos. I think BitMine has had a lot of connectivity to the institutional world. Kathy Woods made it a big public investment in BitMine pretty early. It's now a top 10 holding for ARK. That's drawn on other institutional investors into it. And I think that process has created the flywheel. And that's why we're the 26th most traded stock in the US today. And between us and MicroStrategy, as you point out, we're really creating the liquidity in the DApps.
Yeah. So what do you attribute then? So you guys are now also expanding beyond just Ethereum. So there was a recent announcement that you guys were, I think it was like seeding the WorldCoin DAT, and you guys are like kind of got your eyes open. Tell me about that part of the strategy.
Well, I think BitMine wants to play a role in helping Ethereum make it to the next 15 years. And that's helping identify, projects that are important that will use a lot more ETH and burn gas. It's also helping seed other payment rails that come onto ETH. And of course, we're working very closely with the Ethereum Foundation to really identify and prioritize upgrades. So I think part of that is also investing in projects that really stand out. So Orbs, 8Co, which is a WorldCoin DAT, as A16Z points out, out of the 11 things that AI really cares about, one is proof of humanity. And World is really one of the first projects. There are almost 17 million people that have been verified human. I mean, I think protecting humanity, is a big priority on the blockchain.
So there you have it. You have that lovely video from Tom Lee. Here's another video I want to just play.
Tom Lee, Evan, I think it's so interesting that he has now become sort of the face of ETH. TradFi, DeFi, it's all becoming one thing. It's all becoming Wall Street. You see it with these companies. It's just such a sign. Like, put those two guys next to each other. It's like they're in the same narrative somehow right now. It's wild to think about where we were at 5 years ago with crypto. People like Tom Lee now being kind of the name. So I'm just like curious, like those guys talk, are they in a group chat? I don't know.
I think he has expressed that he's worked with Ethereum Foundation. I think they're donating there and just working on research. I mean, again, I think he's going to be a very shareholder friendly executive here. And he knows how to just, bring people and attention and to help kind of grow the space for ETH. But there's not much of a doubt in my mind that Tom Lee, he's a huge bull on Bitcoin. I think he would stack Bitcoin. I think he would go to where the attention is. And if that's Solana or another chain, I think he's going to really try and be some type of Berkshire Hathaway of digital assets. That's such a big statement. That's the sense I get. And so I think the play here is fairly substantial on where he could take this.
All right, I hope those two videos resonated with you all. So I know some of you, like Raz, has been asking questions. I'll definitely cover all that. I hope that kind of gives you some light. But as I cover the TA analysis, I'll give you more of the updates on Riot Platforms, CleanSpark as well. I know Katie's big on CleanSpark, but we definitely see some nice movements with CleanSpark as well. So Heisenberg posts is BMNR. This one is fairly obvious, very chartable, no secret to how tight it's been consolidating in this triangle. At some point, it looks to be soon will climax, whatever that means. Also, Bitcoin looks like it wants to fresh all-time high towards 130,000, should spell good for ETH as well. If ETH follows Bitcoin and heads towards all-time high, BMNR will most definitely see a $70 retest, if not more. This is a very high beta name, but I like it. HODL, my spidey senses tells me should be good odds. So look at this. I mean, pennant flag playing out. Yes, it's hard to tell when it'll bounce up. It's just going to be a matter of time where, the bigger the consolidation, the bigger the squeeze. He puts it at $70 price target retests. All right, let's shift over to TA analysis. So I want to, kind of give you some overall TA analysis. Any questions you have, we'll definitely cover it. I'll go based on the order of the different stock tickers I put on the title. So first, let's go through, MSTR. So I'm just going to have, several indicators. Obviously, we got the, the indicator that I'm showing on the bottom. I like looking at this because anytime when we see a rise in the red candles, which you see at the bottom, that's telling you smart money is loading up. We're definitely seeing that rise since, last week. Last week we saw a rise. But one thing I want to point out to you is, look at this. When we zoom in, you see this red that I'm hovering? That's the momentum signal. And that's based on, just rising price relative to, daily moving average price action and RSI. Because we see that momentum signal driven from confluence data, we're now seeing purple candles. Every time when you see red coupled with purple, that's bullish. I mean, look at when we last saw it, when it was capitulation mode back in like the run up top of November, and then it dropped down. You see the red right here, 280. We got that red signal. Then it went from like 280 all the way up to like 460. So are we at that level where we're going to see MSTR breakout? I believe so, which is why I'm very bullish on MSTR. I'm leveraged on this, and I even have, you know, different plays with MSTX, 2x leverage, MSTU. So definitely huge opportunity. You know, after this, you know, I don't really think it can go down any further, which is why I'm banking on the riskier plays of MSTX, MSTU. So, you know, I'm bullish on that. And I think that, you know, strategy is going to start bouncing out of this pennant flag. I mean, look at this. This is just telling you, you know, the bullish indicator just turned on. We're seeing whales buy in. We're going to see it break out of this, you know, long-term pennant flag. All right, so let's shift over. All right, so I'm going to be talking about, next up, we will cover BMNR in that order. All right, so what are we seeing with BMNR? So obviously, I got this drawn out for all of us to look. We see oversold signals. I mean, yes, every month we're seeing higher lows. I mean, back in August, you got $30 support. You know, September, you got $40 support. You know, October, you got $50 support. So every month you're seeing a $10 rise with BMNR. That's definitely a good thing. I mean, that's all attributed to the MNAV. Now look at this. We had the signal, the momentum signal, August 6th. What happened? $34 all the way up to $70, 100%. And the red signal there I have circled, $40 all the way up to, you know, $64. That's a big gain as well. So we just got that red signal, which I have circled right there. We're looking at a big potential run up. We're going to see some purple candles. This, I think, is going to push us up to somewhere around that $77, $88. We're going to consolidate there, you know, have a slight pullback before the next leg up as ETH starts breaking out in Q4 as well. You know, I think we're going to get, you know, above that 120 range, but definitely huge opportunity for BMNR. All right, we're going to shift gears. I'm going to share with you. I know there are some questions about, you know, what's a better play, BMNR, SBET. You know, when it comes to fundamentals, obviously, you know, there's no second best to Tom Lee, right? I mean, you look at, you know, the Korea market. I mean, everyone is like buying like BMNR right now because they like Tom Lee. I mean, fund strat leader there. But look at SBET. I also like SBET because it looks exactly like, you know, it looks like MSTR, like, you know, just price action. One of the things I like is we saw that momentum signal just turn on as well. And we're seeing oversold. Yes, we haven't seen the whales load up as much, but here's the key thing. We got that momentum signal. Support is in. I don't think we're going to get any lower. And now it's just going to be a breakout of this. Technicals look like it's going to break out. I think as we head into Q4, you know, SBET is going to go somewhere around $44. It may blast off. I mean, a lot of people are underestimating this stock, but it could really run. I mean, we saw it run when it was like at $9 to like $40, even, you know, after that big run up to like, you know, triple digits. So SBET definitely has, you know, huge opportunities, and they're partnering up with like Consensus, Linux, and, you know, other partners to really tokenize SBET on the Ethereum network. So definitely SBET is not to ignore as well. So I definitely, you know, I like BMNR, I like SBET. I'm not going to exclude one over the other because I know that, you know, there's always going to be opportunities for others to make big bucks as well. All right, so I've been talking about this stock here. You know, it's an ETF, 2x leverage. If you like Solana, better not ignore this here. I'm bullish on SOLT. I've been talking about this as well. You know, when it was down at last week, we were talking about this, right? It was like, you know, $19. A week later, where are we now? We're at like, you know, close to $30. That's a huge gain right there. So, you know, if you listen to this, this would have, you know, had big opportunities. But here's the thing. On the daily candle, we just got that bullish momentum since, you know, the last bullish momentum's August. That turned on at $18, and it went from 18 to 25, big gains. The next momentum candle that we got, August 26th, $20 all the way to $35. And then we got the yellow candle, which represents like a pink diamond. But look, now we got the blue diamond, the red candle here, $26. So how high can it go? I think, we can break above $40, just on the near term. So if you like Solana, SOLT, you could make some big bucks with that. All right, so I know, I'm going to try to answer all the questions that Raz has here. So, I know Raz, you're asking about Mara, which we'll cover. You're asking about Riot, which we'll cover right now. And you're just asking about timing. So as far as HPC announcement, it could be tomorrow. It could be next week. It could be, end of October, November, or December. I think the key thing right now is that there's not too many facilities out there that have the capacity, energy approval from the grid, from the state level. Texas is where it's at because that's where most of the electricity can be generated and it's less costly. That's why you got Project Stargate, underway, with 10 gigawatt approval under, SoftBank, Oracle. So who knows? I think because Google partnered up with like Cypher and Wolf for their projects. I think now you got like other companies out there that are looking for energy capacity. Riot Platforms has the facility. They got land that they just purchased, and they're scaling up right now, and they can just flip the switch, develop HPC AI, use all the money from Bitcoin mining, and start just advancing their core business infrastructure around HPC AI. So any ink deal that's going to be announced in the coming days, weeks, months, I don't think it's going to be any later than Q4. I think the longer you wait, the better, because you don't want to like desperately make a deal right now and then you're not getting the best deal out there. The longer you wait, the more expensive the contract will be. But now just looking at the technicals, we got that red candle that just ignited recently. So we've seen it, break into the $20 range like several weeks now, right? So definitely we do see some resistance around the $20 range, but right now you let your winners ride. And with Iron already shooting up to $50, that's the king of like all miners HPC right now. And I think Riot Platforms can start going up, in addition to all the other miners in the sector. So definitely huge opportunity from a fundamental perspective. They announced their mining capacity a little less than the prior months, but that the last couple of months have been very hot, and that's one of the downsides. But overall, this year, that wasn't even a big factor. Riot Platforms was able to also turn off the energy not used and really sell the energy back to the state and gain huge bucks on that as well. That's their strategy that they have. Now that the weather is shifting into the colder region, they can full scale, just continue mining, continue just expanding their portfolio. And I think that's why we're getting a lot of investor interest, many financial analysts are increasing the price targets of Riot. You know why? Because right now it's a buyer's market for energy, HPC AI. Riot Platforms has what's to offer. Let's go through CleanSpark. So I know, including myself, I'm a holder of CleanSpark. I'm bullish on CleanSpark, and I hope, Katie, you are bullish as well. We've been talking about CleanSpark. What was it? Last week when it dropped down to $12, major capitulation mode turning on. But look, we got that red momentum signal back when it was early, about a month ago, $9. And what happened? $9 to now, over $16. Ride this bullish momentum. CleanSpark, I think, has definitely room to grow. We've seen back in 2023, it went from $3 to like $24, 800% gain within a couple of weeks. Where we are, like $9, if it does a 800% gain, that is, I can't even do the math right now, but that's like over $50. So anything can happen right now. Very bullish with the mining stocks, and I think CleanSpark is going to be very bullish. Momentum is changing. Even Josh Mandel, I posted on X. I don't know if you all follow, but he posted his, his bullish investments. He's been buying like IBIT, VITX, also in that snapshot. He had CleanSpark on there. So the Bitcoin Prophet buying CleanSpark, you know what that means? CleanSpark is going to Valhalla land. All right, so Mara, so as far as CleanSpark, I think they're shifting gears. They're gonna, get into HPC AI. So definitely, that's gonna favor CleanSpark. In addition to Mara as well. Mara, one of the good things is they're a late bloomer. They're late to the game in terms of the share price going up. But you know what? As Bitcoin starts going up in price, the big three Bitcoin miners, Mara, Riot, CleanSpark, they have big hodls of Bitcoin. Mara has close to 53,000 Bitcoins on their balance sheet. Any incremental increase with Bitcoin is going to be favorable to Mara's share price. What are we seeing right here? Let me just draw this out. I mean, this is textbook, cup and handle formation. I think we're going to start squeezing soon. Mara, I got some call options I just bought last week. I definitely do think on the near term, we're even going to see it break next week. We may very well see it get to 22. It may just blast off to 26. I believe 26 is at around the 1.618 fib level. But I think $30 is well within reach. We had $30 back in November. So definitely huge opportunity. I think investing into Mara right now is undervalued. It's lower risk because it hasn't broken out yet. When you compare it to like other stocks, yes, granted, Iron is like the king of the miners because of their, HPC AI. But for a stock to go from $5 to $50, that's like 1,000% gain. When you got a stock like Mara, like still on the downside, especially with Bitcoin going up, you de-risk and you have opportunity for the upside. So Mara is definitely a great buying opportunity in my opinion. All right, so I want to share with you all. So DJT, do not sleep on DJT. I'm going to tell you why. DJT is a stock that has been in major capitulation mode. But let me just share with you what I'm seeing on the charts. I mean, DJT, right? I mean, look at this. May 2025, it was like $27. November, obviously during the Trump announcement, this was $54. January, this is $43. Where are we right now? I mean, yes, things have changed, but when you look at it, they became a Bitcoin treasury company. And they just announced 20% ownership of crypto.com token, right? CRO Chronos. And they're going to be announcing this upcoming week approval for their crypto ETF. Look, we just got the red momentum candle lighting up here. This is definitely a key signal, for a bullish momentum. We got the oversold signal here, and we're seeing an increase. Whales are loading up. DJT, I definitely do think we're going to see a vertical leap right now with DJT. So, be on the lookout for that. So Katie with 11,000 shares of CleanSpark. Oh man, I better get a bag of Lay's chips to celebrate the excitement. Well, good job. Sometimes you just got to go big on one stock and it'll go big for you. Sometimes diversifying. People say, not putting everything, all your eggs in one basket. But is that the way to go? I mean, if you invest like everyone else, if you don't have conviction, right? I've seen some people who invested all in on OpenDoor at $2. They put like 400K and now they're like at $1.5 million. Sometimes you just got to do what you believe in, and that's why you make it big in this market. All right, so ONDS holding ONDS ticker. I took a bet on this last week. I was like, you know what? I'm tired of seeing this thing go up. I'm just going to join the fun. Yes, we saw that, that retracement from $8. We got it down to, $7.30. We got the bearish candle turning on. And then what happened after that? Reversal, we got that momentum candle, and now, you know, it shot up to, you know, 991. So it looks like it's about to break, you know, double digits. You know, I'm bullish that ONDS is going to, you know, just have a nice run up. I will continue to follow this up to the upside. We may very well see this next week get to like $11, $13 just on the near term. Longer term, definitely see it, you know, mature as a stock overall. One of the most, you know, highly traded stocks. ONDS, definitely not ignore them as well. All right, so here's another stock that I definitely do believe had potential. Grab your ticket to the, you know, Willy Wonka chocolate factory. This might give you the golden ticket here. I mean, you know, it would have been better to buy when it was like at $4 back in early September. You got that momentum signal, $5.10. It shot up all the way to $6.62. We got that, you know, bearish momentum candle turn on. So it's been regressing, but what are we seeing? I mean, we're seeing consolidation. I definitely do think that we're going to see a reversal to the upside. You know, soon enough, we're going to get, you know, above $7, $8. I definitely do see Grab becoming a double-digit stock similar to what it was years ago. So Grab is, you know, similar to like Uber, Lyft in Southeast Asia. When I was in Vietnam and Thailand, I was using Grab for rides to get to places as well. So I see the value in that. They're going to be announcing their earnings, and they're going to announce positive revenue profit for the company, which is going to fuel the company to grow even further. I think, you know, they're trying to expand into different states. Grab is gaining the attention for like US investors. So, you know, we're seeing a lot more price action. Whales have been loading up. So, you know, with this consolidation, we're going to be potentially seeing it rise up in price. All right, so next up, so here's an interesting one I took advantage of. You know, I bought in and then it started retracing down. You know, I bought it at high 15s, but I definitely do think where it currently is, $14, definitely a buying opportunity. Weebul, I mean, we've seen this rocket when it, you know, announced its launch. But, you know, most of, you know, investors use Weebul for like TA analysis. I think a lot of people like the user interface. Of course, it's not like, you know, Robinhood, but that doesn't mean that Weebul will catch up to Robinhood's price. But overall, it has potential to grow in terms of, you know, the stock price. I mean, look at this. This thing went all the way up to like, you know, $80 back in April, right? And it's just been consolidating since. So, you know, the last resistance, July, $18, got a big pullback. And now, you know, we're seeing it slowly climb up. Definitely do think that we're going to see somewhere around $20 on the near term for Weebul. So, yeah, JG Lee, I mean, we're not going to have like, robo-taxi like in the US with Tesla and all that. It's so congested in Southeast Asia where you just got to hop on a motorcycle, someone using Grab, they'll drop you off. I don't think robo-taxi will get, you know, implemented anytime soon. So, you know, I think the culture hasn't got there yet. So definitely Grab is going to be, you know, around for many, many years. And by then Grab will evolve to you know, modern day society. But right now transportation is so congested with so much people. It's more efficient to have, you know, humans, you know, taking you around. All right, so Tillray Brands, you know, definitely with, you know, CBD announcement like 2 weeks ago from Trump, right? CBD endocannabinoids is like the natural remedy to a lot of like healthcare problems. So Tillray is a weed stock, and, you know, with that announcement following day, we had it shoot up from like, you know, like low $1 all the way up to like 180. So it had a huge price surge. So I took advantage of this, even though it ran up. It's been consolidating since. I think we're going to see the next leg up. Again, you know, these small cap stocks, along with many other small cap stocks, have been taking a beating since 2020. It went up during that time, and it's just been bleeding out for 5 years. But we're beginning to see things change. Rate cuts are happening. Small cap stocks are, gaining traction. And I definitely do think Tillray is going to have a nice opportunity to the upside. All right, I've been talking a lot. Here's the last ticker that I have planned out. That is OpenDoor Technologies. Save the best for last. I'm very bullish on OpenDoor. I got shares of Open. I got contracts of Open. I got contracts 2026, 2027 leaps. I believe in the use case. Open's going to, $82. Longer term, it's going to triple digits. I keep talking about OpenDoor being like the next Palantir Carvana stock. This definitely is changing how we look at growth stocks, leveraging, defaulting to AI. And we're seeing that too with the CEO, Kaz. He's been really driving changes, the company culture, demanding employees going back on site, and really just taking away all that, corporate jargon and, putting things in place so that, they can add value to shareholders. And we're seeing a lot of initiatives with like the 7-day trial test, buying your home. If you don't like it, you can return it back. You also have 100-day warranty to give customers assurance that, your purchase is going to minimize all problems. Even after you make that big purchase, you have the ability to reverse that decision making to eliminate that problem. So definitely huge opportunity, along with Open considering opportunities just similar to what like Better Stock is doing, where they can offer mortgages and really gain off of that as alternative revenue streams as well. So OpenDoor is a growth stock. They're leveraging AI, and we're going to see this stock really grow in value, similar to Palantir when Palantir was like single digits, less than $10. And look, we've seen it grow over the last several years to now like close to $200. OpenDoors is going to be that same stock that we're talking about now. So definitely opportunity. Short term, long term, OpenDoor is really going to be talked about at college universities in finance classes. So definitely, I'm bullish on the value creation that OpenDoor is providing to shareholders. And it's not a meme stock; it's a cult stock. You got the CEO from Shopify. I mean, look at how well Shopify is doing. You got angel investors returning back to OpenDoor, like Rabois and Eric Wu buying stocks. You even have internal employees, leaders buying the stock. That just shows the conviction for this company. So we're seeing consolidation since like 1 month now. So, the longer the consolidation, similar to what we saw when it ran up to 499, pullback, 188, we're going to see that next leg up. I think in October, we're going to see it next leg up somewhere around $15 to $18. That's going to be that next leg up for OpenDoor in the month of October. All right, so I hope that was valuable. Let me go through just questions. So please fire questions in the chat. I'm gonna start answering a Q&A session now. All right, so just going through from top to bottom. Daniel, just wondering, I'm not invested in MetaPlanet. What are your thoughts? So I'm glad you asked, Daniel. So MetaPlanet, let me just pull up the charts with MetaPlanet. MetaPlanet, let me just tell you this. MetaPlanet, let's look at this. I mean, MetaPlanet, I wasn't able to time the falling knife. The falling knife, happened for 4 straight months. I bought, when it was at $5, and then it continued to drop to like $3.80. I also bought more at like $4. But you know what? The key thing is it bounced off of the, 350, 360 level. We got that momentum candle turning on at $4.06. And now I think the falling knife is over. This is opportunity for the upside with MetaPlanet. 4 months of bleeding out. That's a long time. So we see oversold signals. We're seeing bears load up. MetaPlanet is definitely going to be rocketing up from my perspective. And I'm also a MetaPlanet holder as well. So Raz, I answered the question with Riot, so I'll skip that. So as far as, Riot stock price prediction, I mean, the sky's the limit. I think if we see it break above $23, we're going to start seeing it start hiking up to $30 to $40 range. So as far as Mara, HPC AI, they've already announced that they're looking towards, HPC AI. So the big three Bitcoin miners understand mining difficulty is just going to get harder as we get to the next halving event, which is why, these miners will position itself to become HPC AI as well. So CleanSpark, I believe they might even get acquired, right? And then it might be a company that already has HPC AI in place. Even if they don't, I think they're gonna, scale out their facilities to evolve it to become HPC AI. All right, so Katie might get a Lamborghini instead. Why not get a Prius? I drive a Prius. Maybe I'm not so big on cars. Maybe if, I build up a super big bankroll where I have the propensity to not even worry about buying cars at high costs. But I guess, people like nice cars, right? I mean, I used to drive nice cars when I was like in my early 20s. I had a BMW 330 Ci. This was like back in college, stick shift. And after that, after graduating, working and all that, I got myself a Lexus GS 350. Love the car. But in your 20s, you think more about cars and all that, having fun, driving nice cars. But as you get older, you kind of focus more on just building your finances and all that. But things can change. Mavericks, which stock has better potential, BMNR or SBET? I mean, that's a hard question. Most people think BMNR has better potential because of the fundamentals and all that. There's reason to believe that. I think that, yes, BMNR has a solid structure. What is it that BMNR is offering that SBET is not offering? I think, you got a solid CEO, no question. SBET, you got co-founder of Ethereum. You also got Joe Chalem from BlackRock, who created the ETF, ETHA. Look at how that's done. So you got the financial aspect, you got the technical aspect. SBET is working with different developers that support the Ethereum network, like Linea, Consensus. So anything can happen between those two, which is why I like both personally. So Leonard, what's your end of year price prediction for both ETH and BMNR? I think sweet spot for Ethereum, even Tom Lee's saying 12,000, 15,000. I think Ethereum is going to land somewhere around 7,800 on a moderate scale. BMNR, I'm putting that at around step one is near term. We're going to get $77, $88. We'll have a retracement depending on what fib level it gets to. And then, we're going to climb up to the stair step 2. I think we're going to have the price start shooting up to like 120, 150. And depending on how high Ethereum goes, it can go higher, it can go lower. But I think that's my moderate scale assessment on the price target. So Moto King, comment, CleanSpark is okay. Riot is growing way faster with AI. And, every month counts, right? And Riot, they announced back in January of this year that they were, going to, explore HPC AI. So they already have a strategy development in plan for HPC AI. They also hired a leader in the space to develop, data centers. So they are, really picking up the pace right now. So Grab, NBIS, Iron, yes, definitely big players in the space right now. Very bullish with all that. That's funny how JG, you used ChatGPT to kind of give you an overall assessment. So definitely use ChatGPT for, lots of, always ask questions, get some feedback because ChatGPT can do wonders. So Chris Graham, INTC, I'm not too sure what that does. So Katie with 11,000 shares, imagine if it goes to $50. That's a big bank right there. Daniel, it's okay. You know, in life, even if a female has more shares than you, automatic instinct is you feel undervalued. But you know what? We should be grateful that we even have shares of all this, right? And hopefully CleanSpark goes to $50 plus. We all can, you know, win together. Daniel, my only position, you know what? That's still big bankroll, 6,000. That's definitely opportunity there. So let's see. Going through the chats, and I haven't seen the questions below because I'm going all the way from top to bottom. So Katie, what happened to Lamborghini and now Lexus? I guess you're big on Lexus. I had a dark gray Lexus GS350. The older model ones, like I think it was 2013 older model back then. I loved it. Steering wheel was very light. I also installed like a ISF intake. I lowered it. Yeah, a great car. And I even put on an exhaust as well. All right, so Daniel, you bring up a point. Scared money doesn't make money, but smart not to. Tillray stock is smoking. Yes, it is definitely smoking. With CBD, you know, getting in the initiative, I think these small cap stocks are really going to do wonders. So Tampa, do you see SBET struggling if BMNR becomes too dominant? So I don't think so, right? Because it's an oligopoly market. It's kind of like when you go around, you get gasoline and all that, right? I mean, nowadays you got like Costco, right? People buy gas there. But you also got other, you know, companies out there that you can buy gas from. I think SBET has something to offer, especially with tokenization. They're the first company to start tokenizing SBET shares. So I think where they're headed, they're tapping into the technological advancement of the Ethereum blockchain, which is very interesting. I think they have more of that technical sound exposure towards advancing into the Ethereum ecosystem. And when it comes to BMNR, that's more of like becoming the MSTR type, you know, store value, you know, advancing Ethereum by, you know, buying as much Ethereum as you possibly can, raise up the MNAV. So definitely, I do think there's opportunity for both sides. But I can understand why a lot of people are bullish with Tom Lee. I mean, fun strat guy. I mean, he can predict markets left and right. So it looks like for SE1B, you know, given the fact that you're in the UK, there's some restrictions there, but it's okay. You can still invest in different stocks. So it's not the end of the world. So a lot of snow up here in Maine, like 4-wheel drive. So I think, Katie, you might as well just get a, you know, a Ferrari, you know, Ferrari, and have a license plate. All we see is W CleanSpark. So not legal advice. I have 10K shares of ESBET. That's bullish. Good job there. And you know, if you want someone who's bullish on ESBET, I actually have, you know, shares of ESBET as well, around like, I think it was around, I forget how much it was. I bought it like close to a year now. But even Josh Mandel, he has, you know, many call options of ESBET as well, BITX as well. So Chris King, I'm 39 and I love my Skoda. A stable car goes a long way, means more money in the stock market. Chris, you're thinking like me, man. You know, when I was like, you know, I'm like 1 year less than you. I'm 38. But like, you know, when I was like in my early 20s, I was all about cars. I was all about that materialistic stuff. But as you get older, you realize, you know, those things decay over time, right? But you could, you know, you could actually invest your money, build it up, it's exponential there. And later down the line, you could buy whatever you want without impacting your funds. So not legal advice. So now that's a position, not legal advice. So not legal advice. I think Tom Lee is a better promoter. Yeah, he is. And you know, one of the comments today that I thought was very funny was someone said that we have the same speed when it comes to speaking. I always felt bad when people like always, you know, talked about my speaking, like speaking too slow. But someone actually commented saying that I speak at the same speed as Tom Lee, and it really helps. And it's very inspiring to hear stuff like that. Because Tom Lee isn't that fast of a speaker as well, but when he speaks, it's very clear, which is what I really like. Some people just speak very fast, and it's hard for me to process everything that's being told. So Daniel, are we going to $25 this month on CleanSpark? Oh, $25 this month. So yeah, I didn't see that this month part, but it's possible. I mean, 1.618 golden ratio, it puts us at $19. I definitely do see us hitting that fib level first. If it breaks through that fib level, 1.618, then $25 is definitely very possible. Whether it's this month or not, that's hard to tell. But I definitely do think there's opportunity there. So Ron, that's a compliment, thinking that I'm 25. That was like 13 years ago. I guess it's an Asian thing where, you know, you look younger, but really you're not. But once you hit that age, that's when it like doubles. So Bitcoin at 123,500. Let's take a look. Let's see how things are doing right now. Bitcoin, yes, 123,000, looking good. Ethereum, 4,500. Solana, 228. You know, one of the things that I've been noticing is BNB Binance has been just shooting up. I mean, 17% gain. I was shocked to see it go over 1,000. 2016 GX450. Wow. Okay, but BMNR will generate income through staking to buy ETH without diluting. Oh yeah, I mean that's the beauty behind Ethereum, right? You can stake, and you know you get revenue off of staking. So JG, for some reason, when I do YouTube live stream, I can't use my professional microphone. So I'm using the laptop microphone right now. Maybe next time I can just use my earpods and then just do the microphone there. So it's just more of a limitation thing. But thank you for that feedback. I'll try to use my headset next time and speak to that. Yeah, I'm just trying to use more technical analysis as well. I mean, I had many lessons that I have learned over the course of just investing. You know, since COVID, I mean, during that time, there were so many stocks that just shot up, and I just continue to hold. Like I was like, you know what, it's going to keep going up, even though RSI was like above 80, and then things just went reverse. So I've learned my lesson to understand like there's always going to be opportunities where things run up, but when things run up, you got to learn to have an exit strategy as well. Otherwise, you know, you lose all that potential gain. So definitely understand, you know, your entry exit strategy as well. Tony C, bro, so thanks for joining. I know you always comment and stuff, so I appreciate that, but it's great to have you in the live stream. Yeah, more on the, you know, the Sunday live streams. I try to go more towards just sharing with you all the different stocks, you know, crypto plays that I think should be on your radar so that we all can win. But I think JG, you know, Daniel, Katie have been like the returning folks to this channel. So, you know, just grateful for all of you who continue to consistently show up during this time. But I think I'm going to change the time. 3 o'clock is very hard to make it live stream. So I'm thinking 3:30, 4 o'clock. I'm thinking 3:30 would be best that extra 30 minutes just gives me time to set up and all that as well without me stressing to get back home. Okay, I like what Buffett said. We'll see who's wearing shorts when the tide goes out. Yeah, so I watched a Warren Buffett video recently, and I think it was a very good reminder. So it's kind of like when you're like in baseball, when you're up to the bat, you're given 3 strikes. So you're forced to make decisions. Let's say, the first ball thrown was a strikeout. Okay, so now that gives you less patience. You only got 2 more decisions to make, right? So the second ball thrown was another strike. So now you only got, 1 decision to make, whether you don't hit the ball when the next ball is thrown, or you're going to try to attempt to hit it. Even though, let's say, sinkers are going to be like the lowest probability of you hitting the ball. Person throws a sinker, you attempt to hit it because it's your last opportunity. So what does this all mean? It's much different when you're investing in the stock market. And what Warren Buffett said is, when you're in the stock market, you have all the time that you have. Of course, everyone ages, right? But when it comes to investing, patience is, your best friend. So you don't have to make a decision right away on that day. Sometimes when we have available funds, our instinct is we want to make money right away. Sometimes it's better to see how stocks are moving. Let's say if you like a certain stock, just wait, or if you see something, that has a better opportunity, capitalize on that, but don't try to rush through things. I've learned my lesson as well this year, rushing into things. And I wish I had waited, before making those decisions. But I think that's the analogy that you all can apply as well, that we all can apply. Patience is definitely one of the biggest, technical indicators that we all should apply. It's not about drawing charts and all that. While that's important, understanding that you don't always have to react towards how things are moving on that day, and it can just be okay. So JG, make the stream on the hour, maybe it's easier to remember. That's true. So we'll try to keep it at 3 o'clock, but if I do change it, 3:30 might be the case. But I will schedule it. I think scheduling it. Were you guys able to see my schedule for the live stream today? Like, did it show when I'm scheduled to go live? Yeah, Kate, I'm also down on that as well. So hopefully things reverse. We saw it on Friday, game, having a nice run up. All right, well, we've gone over the hour. JG reminded me, I remember many videos back, I went like hour and 30, and then JG reminded me, hey, maybe, keep it at an hour, because after an hour it gets diluted and it helps me just not go overboard. But I just wanted to thank you all. It definitely was a great live session. I hope that you all enjoyed. And if you haven't already done so, hit the like, subscribe, follow me on X as well, and let me know that you're part of the live stream. I'll try to follow you all as well, and then we can chat. But thank you as well, all of you, JG, Leonard, Tampa, Katie, everyone on here who's joined. So really appreciate your time. Thanks wherever you're watching from, whether it's nighttime, morning, getting close to, the market open. Let's make some big bucks and, gain on positive proceeds, lead with an altruistic mindset. We'll do this together. So thank you. You all have a good rest of your Sunday. Take care, guys. Bye.